A tough and lengthy Class 12 CBSE Maths exam has left many students in tears and their future in doubt. Hundreds of petitions have now been signed online with over 25,000 students and parents from across the country demanding either lenient evaluation or a re-examination. The issue even found resonance in Parliament today. Added to it was the controversy that the paper was leaked, something CBSE has already denied. Hello and welcome to this special show. Over the next half an hour, we take a look at what can be done to ensure that students are reassured and a larger look at India's education system and what it's offering to the students. But first, a look at the agony of some of the students.
Shubhangi Narayan, a student of Gyan Bharati School in Bihar's Nevada, wants to become an engineer after her 12th boards. But she suddenly seems unsure of her plans after taking her maths exam on Monday. In Hyderabad, students like Pranav Agarwal say the paper wasn't out of syllabus but was much more exhaustive and tricky than previous years, an indication the CBSE did not give in sample papers published earlier this year.
The students who didn't opt for math and the students who had opted for math, there'll be complete inequity between them because they will have a huge advantage over us for applying in colleges.
Thousands of 12th board CBSE students are angry and upset with the maths paper that seems to be very tough and unusually long. And there were also reports that the paper was leaked. Their concerns were voiced by Lok Sabha members cutting across party lines.
Madam, we have received hundreds of complaints from the parents and school teachers that this 80% of the question the students were not able to answer because it is very tough.
They also claim that touts were selling 51 questions answers near exam center on Sunday. On one side the question become very tough, on other side the question is leaking. The HRD ministry should intervene and cancel the examination.
लोग बच्चे 25-25 अंक का क्वेश्चन छोड़ के आए हैं जी, क्वेश्चन लेंथी था। जिन लोगों ने पेपर को सेट किया है, इसकी जांच होनी चाहिए, HRD मिनिस्टर चेक करे।
I will convey this to HRD minister, and it's a matter which deserves an inquiry, and the inquiry will be done and action will be taken.
After this assurance by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, the CBSE clarified that the paper was not leaked. But opposition members say that's not enough and want a fresh maths test.
The students are not in a position, even though the brightest students are not in a position to answer the question properly. And this examination should be cancelled and for a new examination.
From online petitions to student helplines, troubled parents are trying their best to deal with a difficult situation for their wards. And with the future of thousands of young minds at stake, it is perhaps time the government steps in and comes out with some reassuring solution. With Sandeep Phukan in Delhi, Rohit Rajan for NDTV.
All right, let's quickly take a look at what some of those online petitions are saying. That CBSE has broken the dreams of several students by setting a paper which was meant for IIT aspirants. That's what a petitioner has said. And of course, social media buzz with complaints against the tough maths paper. And as many as 240 petitions have been posted on change.org platform, getting support from about 25,000 people. And this all happening within 48 hours of the exam, which has obviously left students extremely worried. But what's even more serious is the fact that we'll in fact pull up on our screens what the CBSE website is now showing. Children have even posted messages like, what do I do? Should I commit suicide? If we could quickly pull that up and show how some of those messages are being posted by Class 12 students, where they are even saying, should I commit suicide? And what was even more shocking, that despite the fact that this was reported when NDTV tried to call the CBSE helpline, there was simply no response that we got. All right, as you can see, no response there when NDTV tried to reach that CBSE helpline. Let's now try and understand what an examination can really do for the future of students and whether we are looking at any tough measures being taken to ensure that this does not repeat. What are the options really? Joining us today in the studio with me here, Sonia Philip, founder president of Learning Matters Foundation. Also on the link with us, Viren Mehta, her grandchild has appeared for the Class 12th exam. She joins us from New Delhi, and Siddharth Pandey with some students. Let me first go across to Siddharth Pandey, because we understand that many of those students have a board exam tomorrow as well, but of course they continue to be extremely perturbed by what has happened 2 days ago in the maths exam. Siddharth, over to you.
Well, thanks so much. In fact, I'm with Jojo Phillips. He's someone who's given his maths exam, completely shocked when he actually got that paper, and he's in fact got an exam tomorrow, so he won't take up much of your time. When this paper came to you, what went through your mind? I mean, did you believe this was your paper, Class 12 paper, or what went through your mind?
So what went through my mind was that whether I'm giving a Class 12 class paper or a college examination, because it was a pretty tough paper, and around 30%, not even 30% of the content was from NCERT. Most of the questions were high order thinking skills question, which requires a lot of time, which is a time consuming
It's called
activity.
HOTS, I think, the higher order skills.
Yeah, it's HOTS question, which is a time consuming
Now, maths
question.
is a tough subject, I know, because a lot of students, I think, have been, cramming for this exam, and just look at the number of books, and all of these books are just for mathematics for this year.
Yeah, this Class 12 mathematics books, and whole year, not only me, all the students are preparing for the mathematics exam, because it's a nightmare for us. And yes, it is worse than a nightmare, which we see day before yesterday in our examination.
And were there also emotional scenes, because once you all got the paper, what happened then? I mean, what happened to your friends and all who were sitting around you? I believe some of them got emotional, some of them started crying as well.
Yeah, sir, you're right. After the examination, when we left the examination hall, most of my friends were crying, and they were saying that paper was pretty lengthy and tough, and yeah, it also our careers depend on the paper, so it could result in our downfall.
Your careers depend on it, your admission to the college of your choice depends on this. Now, if you, do you have an appeal for the HRD Minister, Smriti Irani? Do you have an appeal for her? Do you want her to, intercede, do something in this?
So it's my appeal to Smriti Irani ji and to the Lord that they should reconduct the examination. I'm saying this from behalf of all the students, that this examination should be reconducted, so because it's pretty tough paper.
It's a tough paper, Jojo. You want the exam to be reheld. That's what he and perhaps I think thousands of other students who've given this maths exam feel, something that will determine the college that they enter and the future career choices that they have in mind for themselves.
Absolutely, Siddharth, and how the student there describing that examination worse than a nightmare is how students are describing it. Today we also have Swapan Seth joining us. Swapan Seth's son has appeared in the exam, and Viren Mehta. Let me go first across to Viren Mehta to try and understand the kind of petition that parents and grandparents also now involved in the entire process are trying to get across to the government, to the HRD ministry, as well as to CBSE, to ensure that the students' careers are not at stake because of that one examination. Viren Mehta, your response.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. ये मैथ्स बनाने वाले ने क्या सोच के मैथ्स का पेपर बनाया है? अगर उसको बिठा दिया जाए तो वो भी कर नहीं पाएगा। आज हर एक बच्चा ये कहता है, तू रोए रात की तन्हाइयों में उठ कर, तेरे को चैन ना आए, तू चैन को तरसे, क्योंकि तुमने चैन हमारा छीना, हमारे बच्चों का छीना, हमारे बुढ़ापे का छीना है, और हर एक माँ बाप की आंखों में आंसू ला दिए हैं। तू बेऔलादा था, तेरे को मालूम नहीं था कि मैथ्स क्या होता है। एक मैथ्स के एक नंबर के लिए हमें 23 स्टेप लेने पड़ते हैं, और 4 मार्क्स के लिए हमें 20 स्टेप लेने पड़ते हैं। क्या तू ऐसा पेपर कर सकेगा? क्या कहता है? नहीं कर पाओगे तुम लोग। तुम एजुकेशन से मजाक करते हो। बेटियां बचाओ, बेटियां पढ़ाओ, बेटियां मरवाओ सीबीएसई में भेज के, उनको मैथ्स कभी ना सिखाओ। उन्हें क्या सिखाओ? नाचना गाना सड़कों पे, ये सिखाओगे, चाय बनाना सिखाओगे, पढ़ना सिखाओगे। नो, मैं नहीं।
Okay, as we can see, a very angry
बच्चों के साथ
a very angry grandparent there, obviously very disturbed by what has happened. Swapan Sage, if I could go across to you to try and understand the agony not just of students but also of parents. It is an examination, as many say, not just for the students but the parents equally disturbed by what's happening. If you could share your views in terms of what the students community is really feeling after that very, very tough and lengthy exam.
Okay, so I think what's very important is to appreciate the fact that Jyoti actually nailed it. It was an examination totally focused on higher order thinking. For example, if you look at the 1 markers, 3 were lengthy, 2 were average, 5 had higher level thinking. If you analyze the entire paper, 30% was higher order thinking, 40% was average to higher, to above average and lengthy, and only 23% was average. Now, the point of the matter is that even if you set up a very high order thinking paper, the NCERT textbook should have prepared students for that, which it didn't. So really, the fault really lies with the entire system. But to say that the paper had stuff which was out of the syllabus is incorrect. I think to sum it up, it was a very high order thinking paper, and both the textbooks and the schools were not in a position to prepare the children for that high level of thinking. That's it. And of course, it's...
All right, let me now get a perspective from Sonia Philip, President of the Learning Matters Foundation. You've heard those angry parents, grandparents, students all talking about the fact that that one examination has put their entire career at stake. This brings to us a larger question on India's education system as well. After all, what happens in those 3 hours in many ways decides the careers of these students.
And that, I mean, anyone can say that that's not really how children should be judged. I think there's something seriously wrong in basing children's well-being and their future on an exam. We know children's capabilities are so much broader, and unfortunately the emphasis that our education system lays on the exams is misplaced.
All right, a misplaced emphasis on the examination system. Let's in fact get more voices. Now we have Sam Daniel joining us from Chennai, and once again students extremely disturbed and upset at what has happened. Sam, over to you. Share with us what some of the students in Chennai are telling you.
Well, thank you, Shweta. Well, one common complaint we hear from students across Chennai is that, for example, what should have been ideally under 6 marks was brought under 4 marks question, which took a long time to answer. And I have with me Riddhi Bora, who has just taken the exam yesterday. Riddhi, thank you so much for your time. Explain to us the kind of difficulties you faced yesterday.
The paper was lengthy, I felt, and then few questions were really long. And some were a little tricky, so it took time to think and answer, and then it was a quite tough paper, I felt.
What is the complaint? Because if it was difficult for a lot of students, everybody would probably score lesser marks, and it's not going to benefit anyone specially or work against someone specifically. So what's your worry in that case?
My total may go down, so you know, colleges and then admission, that might go difficult.
But there's going to be an overall trend, right? Why would you worry that it will affect your admission prospects?
I think I was expecting better marks, so that's worrying me.
Does that mean lack of better preparation?
No, I had prepared really well the entire year, so I was expecting greater marks.
And what are the possible solutions you have in mind now?
I'm expecting a fair correction from the CBSE people, or you know, they could just improvise, or they could just check on where we could get marks actually, or something like that.
Right. And your plans actually, you are preparing for medical or dental actually?
Something related to medical field I'm planning to do.
Right, right. So mixed reactions, right or wrong, but students are really worried that it could affect their admission prospects to get into professional courses like medicine or dental, Shweta.
All right, Sam, thanks so much for joining us with those details. We slip into a quick break, but on the other side, we continue the discussion on what are the options really before the CBSE as well as the students. Can we find a solution to this problem? That's coming up in just a bit. All right, we are discussing that very, very tough and lengthy Class 12 Maths exam and what it has meant for all the Class 12 students who took that examination. With us now Amita Vattal, Principal of Springdale School, also Sonia Phillip, President of Learning Matters Foundation, and Swapan Seth, who today joins us as a parent who seems to be at the receiving end of that tough exam. Amita Vattal, if I could come to you first to get a reaction as a school principal, is there a joint action that all the principals are planning to take? Have you approached CBSE? What are some of the measures that you're seeking?
Well, I would like to say that for me personally, we have written to the CBSE, and groups of my colleagues have written together. The National Progressive Schools, of which we are all members of, have written to the CBSE also. But having said that, there are two quick points that I would like to make. One of them is that the CBSE is perhaps one of the largest boards in the world, where lakhs of students are being tested. So I think it's very important that they have to look at this whole responsibility, because there are students who are appearing for papers from hamlets, from small cities, from metros. And so it's very important that the way that they look at the papers, who are they appealing to, what kind of papers have to be made out, because there's a complete cross-section of children that they have to attend to and affect, which means that any paper that they make, irrespective of it being maths or economics, it has to be made at different levels, keeping so many elements in place. For example, time management, which didn't happen in this particular paper, the fact that the difficulty levels were of varying types, how the children approached the paper, the fact that if it was a one marker, it took the kind of content that was expected out of it was of 6 marks. Now this creates a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety in students, especially where maths is a phobia even amongst the best of students. And the issue again is that maths seems to be a subject where it opens out a lot of careers for people, both at whether they're economically weaker sections, whether they're middle class or higher levels of children from privileged homes. It opens out innumerable careers. So it's very important how we're looking at it. And the competition is so intense. And parents want quality education at affordable rates. Everyone can't afford to send their child out abroad. And we do not have those kind of institutions, and everybody can't afford to go to a private institution that takes so much money. So the moment a child doesn't do very well, the grades fall, the aggregates fall, and the child doesn't manage, and so everything gets affected. So I think we have to be very careful as to how papers are being set, how they're being evaluated, because in the next 2 months you will hear another tirade which comes of how papers are evaluated. Year after year we hear this.
In fact, I'm running out of time. I'll quickly get closing comments now from the other guests. Sonia Phillip, you've heard what the students had to say. You've heard what the principal of a school had to say. And that is what saddens you, the kind of agony that students are today being put through, and yet their careers still remain at stake.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that the whole education system needs a major overhaul. How are we even assessing what a child knows? Are we basing it on just one exam? And why are we not really looking at a more holistic way of understanding children and their learning? I know that the job market that these students are going to go into requires totally different skills, not just the heavy emphasis on rote learning. And I really feel that our assessment is in sync with how we teach. So it's both those pieces that need a major overhaul.
Okay, I'm really out of time. So say it, last 30 seconds to you. What is the solution that today you as a parent are seeking after what has happened? 30 seconds.
I think we should be looking at some element of leniency as far as checking is concerned, and be gracious about this. I totally agree with Mrs. Vattal. Maths is a tricky subject. Some of it take it for science, some of it take it for business. So there are varying abilities that are required. And finally, of course, with Sonia, as always, we've made it a great yard for students.
All right, thank you all for joining us with that perspective. For now, students extremely worried about what's happened, but we do hope that CBSE does come out with some sort of a reassurance or solution for all those students. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.